Moxie, Mettle. We are stronger than we think. We have emotional, spiritual, and even physical resources at our disposal. We may get knocked down, but we don't have to stay down. Steve Goodyear. It is said that God never gives us more than we can handle. We have an enormous capacity for pain, disappointment, even tragedy. We have been endowed by vast abilities, many of which remain silent and untapped inside the deepest recesses of our being. Our intellect is colossal. Our physical abilities are immense. Our willingness to give of ourselves is never-ending. Character is measured by the grit that one manifests, the resilience that keeps one marching forward, tackling one more chore. We are tougher than we think. Nobility. You can easily judge the character of a man by how he treats those who can do nothing for him. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. What does it mean to be noble? Traditionally, nobility refers to a group of people of higher social rank, such as dukes and marquises, the aristocracy in other words. But nobility has come to be associated with conduct, a certain refinement of behavior that distinguishes one as having high moral character. Indeed, being of high moral character itself is defined as being above the petty grudges that occupy the minds of folks who are of lower morals. The road one follows distinguishes one as being of noble mind. As the quote above suggests, if one can render service without expecting anything in return, one is said to be noble. If one refuses to engage in silly debates over trivialities, and instead chooses to bow to a given course of action that does not infringe on his own integrity, one is said to be of noble mind. Rising above the fray is noble. Acting for the good of others without thought of recompense is said to be noble. Openness. Only someone who is ready for everything, who doesn't exclude any experience, even the most incomprehensible, will live the relationship with another person as something alive and will himself sound the depths of his own being. Rainier Maria Rilke. On the spectrum of values, where does the spirit of openness fit in? In the five-factor model, openness includes 5 personality characteristics, including active imagination, aesthetic sensitivity, attentiveness to inner feelings, preference for variety, and intellectual curiosity. Aside from the five-factor model, openness might also be regarded as willingness, lack of deceitfulness, honesty, and ingenuousness in personal dealings. Candor is included, not so much as not lying, but rather a personal naivete, an innocence of demeanor, conduct that is unabashed and unfettered. Optimism. A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty. Winston Churchill. Optimism is considered a virtue because it implies faith in what is yet unknown. As the quote above states, a pessimist sees every opportunity as a difficulty because opportunities are simply potentials not yet realized that may require some work for their accomplishment. But such work represents a difficulty to be surmounted, and the pessimist is so lacking in self-confidence that he does not see success at the end of his endeavors. On the other hand, the optimist embraces the opportunity to stretch his talents, put them to the test, reflect on a difficult situation, and see if he can resolve it to a satisfactory end. The optimist cherishes the opportunity to flex his muscles, physical and intellectual. To him, difficulties are no more than obstacles to be overcome. To him, challenges are no more than stepping stones across a river. To the optimist, crossing that river represents enormous self-esteem and triumph. Orderliness. No wonder so many adults long to return to the university, to all those deadlines. Ah, that structure, scaffolding to which we may cling, even if it is arbitrary. Without it, we're lost, wholly incapable of separating the romantic from the Victorian in our sad, bewildering lives. Marisha Pessel. I have always loved school. From my earliest years, opening a new notebook and smelling a freshly sharpened pencil have always excited something in me. It is only much later that I understood that school, and more specifically mathematics, fed something sacred in me. It was the order and structure required of studying that shaped my intellect. I developed my own style of studying, jotting down essential key words as I listened to a lecture and paraphrasing what I read at home. Those habits followed me throughout life: keyword, restate, and summarize. Organizing one's thoughts around a given topic, researching relevant associated materials, writing theses that followed a logical stream, and completing one course on top of the next until the entire curriculum was completed as a whole unit, a whole comprised of many sections, each section calling for its own hierarchy of functions, its own effort, its own concentration and methodology. As each course would be completed, it would represent one more notch on the long journey to a goal fulfilled. It was structure, it was demarcated, it was charted and mapped, it had landmarks and beacons. When one sets off on a voyage on the ocean, one must make every use of every available guiding artifact and piloting device. To simply drift on the ocean is suicide. Why would study and life be any different? Patience. Trees that are slow to grow bear the best fruit. Molière. Why should patience be a valuable? We live in a society where instant gratification is the norm. TV shows of the most complex theme are resolved in 1 hour. Some people resort to purchasing a college degree rather than studying for it. Others engage in lascivious behavior for the immediate pleasure it provides. Still others rush to divorce courts because their partners do not indulge their whims. We may recognize the folly of those behaviors, but we do very little about modifying them. Consider the dieter who declares that she is going to lose 20 pounds for her class reunion next month. She restricts her diet to a hard-boiled egg and some lettuce and embarks on a 5-mile run at 6 a.m. By day 3 of her program, she is exhausted. Her body is sore to the bone. She is famished, and her resolve has evaporated. We want what we want, and we want it now. We are frustrated if we must work a bit harder for our rewards. We are annoyed if our prize is delayed. If we had planned on a new television set, but some other emergency lays claim to our budget, if we do not see rippling muscles at the end of a month, we abandon the gym membership. Yet consider the value in patience. Consider the self-esteem, the pride of accomplishment that comes with resisting instant gratification. How long does the unctuous sweetness of a chocolate cake last on the tongue compared to the long-lasting satisfaction of setting it aside in favor of improved health? Patience is one more stepping stone across the river to a richer, more satisfying life. Peace. Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Gautama Buddha. Peace is a state of mind, a refusal to war, refusal to engage in negativity, indeed, a refusal to be surrounded by cynicism or criticism, or any action that promotes lack of calm and serenity. Such isolation is not always possible or practical, however. We find ourselves in unruly crowds, at the market, on the train, in theaters. Someone is always at odds with others. Often we cannot disengage because we live in groups. It is therefore incumbent upon each of us to devise our own peace within. If our environment is chaotic and we cannot remove ourselves from it, we can embrace the chaos and respect the chaos. If we can recognize it as chaos, it is obviously in contrast to our own state of being. Embrace chaos, for it is only through chaos that peace is possible. Perfection. Know that everything is in perfect order whether you understand it or not. Valerie Satterwhite. If I told you I had the perfect marriage, would you believe me? You might. More likely you would simply smile benignly, thinking to yourself, yeah, right. You would be listening through your own filters, shaped by your upbringing, your environment, and your own personality, perhaps inwardly mocking my Pollyanna outlook, perhaps even envying me. But consider for a moment. Our lives are made up of all the mistakes, experiences, and choices we have made up to this very moment. Right now, your life is a reflection of all that has happened and all the decisions you made about what has happened. Your choices are not always conscious ones, but they are still your choices. Your current state of health is a direct reflection of your chosen lifestyle. Consider your choice of spouses. Did married life turn out as you expected? If so, great. If not, the choice is still yours, to stay, leave, or effect changes. Remember, too, that whatever change you choose to make need not be the final change that will hereafter carry you on wings of bliss from this moment on. The choice is made at one moment, hopefully after due deliberation. Its outcome, however, may last much longer. The important thing to realize is that we all have choices, and we all make choices every moment of every day, from what we eat to whether we go to work. Those choices can sometimes seem obscure, sometimes are even difficult to make, indeed, difficult to accept as one's own. It is much easier to blame on outside circumstances, such as, I must go to work. It is still a choice. I realize it is unnerving to look at one's life and admit that it is perfect in the sense that it is an accurate reflection, a perfect mirror for the choices we made up to this point. Does this suggest capitulation? If we were to accept our life as perfect just as it is at this moment, this would not argue against making changes as we deem appropriate in the future. Whatever we do at this moment becomes our past one moment later. Therefore, if you feel your life does not support you or is not aligned with your aspirations, assess your options and consider the consequences of your choices. Whatever you decide to do will then be your life at that point. Can you be guaranteed that your life will be better after any decision? Of course not. But at the core is the realization that you, ultimately, are solely responsible for how your life turned out. That represents a life that is exactly as it should be, given the circumstances, given the choices you made. It is, in fact, perfect. Perseverance, persistence. Perseverance is the hard work you do after you get tired of doing the hard work you already did. Newt Gingrich. Perseverance is getting one's college degree when it is not needed. It is the joy of learning, the scholarship, the tedium, and cramming for tests, failing tests, and then taking them again, or taking the entire course again. It is sitting through lectures and complying with syllabi, reading books and writing reports that are as well organized as they are thoughtful. Perseverance is repeating the same admonitions to your child time and time again until her mind has grasped the concept. Perseverance is failing 17 times and trying again. Perseverance is the ongoing journey that never ends. As one guidepost is reached, the next is on the horizon, ever beckoning us to persist on our course. As with perseverance, persistence is the resolve to keep going even when the going is tough. Life is tough. Having to earn a living is tough. Yet we do it, on and on, day in and day out. We do it for our families, we do it for the money, we do it for ourselves. For whatever our reasons, we get up each morning and persist at some activities that do not produce joy. Yet we persist. We must. Some goals require hard work to achieve and are attained only with persistence. Other goals seem too far for us, so we abandon them as fantasy. But repudiation is not a solution. Abdicating our will does not save us from life's drudgery. It is merely resignation. Lassitude is the domain of the dead. Living itself demands perseverance. Piety. Piety is not a goal, but a means to attain through the purest peace of mind the highest culture. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Piety is a state of mind that has precious little to do with religion. Indeed, religious persecution has been disguised under the veil of piety for centuries. One cannot legislate piety any more than one can politicize honor. Piety is a road of truth and peace that leads to a higher realm, a more harmonious life. Piety is not an action, a behavior, or a novena to be practiced. Be devoted to the truth above all else, to a clean life, free of gossip, malice, or intrigue. Maintain your honor in all things. Guard against promoting your own interests above others, and yours shall be the pious life.